She did it back. She July 6th. She got that one class that she failed. She actually broke her femur right at the point. So the next one was wrong. They said, he up all the way. They said, and she went in rehab. Still, the condition she was in, she could strength out. 3 hours. He said he was curious too. I will be sober after it's hard. My dad looks after her. That's actually getting last year in July. She was live good life. Really? Well respected. Where you work? I work at Red Rocks. Another safety director down in Orange Beach. And Orange Beach, I know what they are. Okay. Yeah. Well, the company is a real estate developer. You ever go down and see all these Phoenix buildings? Yeah. We are the ones who build them. And we're also on the management side of it too. We manage the building. So we're a rental management company, we're a construction company, we're a full service company. We have our own farm, we have our own house. We have associations and business for the associations. So, and then of course, we build trees. And they started up next to Sarah. Real estate, construction. Still building. Really? I want to say that we're more construction. We have almost new range anywhere from 600 to 1,000. Right now we're talking about that. But yeah, we have. You say we're about 1,000. Yeah, that's small town. What about you? Oh, are you? Okay. Got 2 new people work for everybody. They try to coach you. David was usually and he is working. Well, working hard. State. Yeah. And that's what you told me. I love it over there. I don't know if some people want stuff. I think I have just a small just starting to get to a point where way the aircraft happens. It's coming, it's gonna be here. Cabin signs. First thing I do. Yeah, so it's I don't care anybody down. Cooperative. Yeah, you don't think about that kind of stuff. Get everything ready and then you just sit home, right? Where you go, really life. Just go on to me, this is the next Yeah. You'll see some about spoils and stuff. Well, that's the one thing about our home. We have to have teachers, you got to find stuff like it, they repair stuff. Yeah, I fish also, actually, I live on a creek that was that soon, so. I'm freshwater and fish, I'm 5 miles away, 13 miles. Close to mine, college place.
You run on it.
Not a year, I don't have to.
Half run.
I got one of the whole lot of fish eating. White birds, catfish.
We're just on the west side of the bridge, right over today. We was in.
Let's make me feel.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same spot. It's like, I never even realized that could be a mistake.
Yeah.
It's out that large now.
Center console.
I was like, man, it's this thing.
Yep. Well, the last, that's the last time you had, you got to let us keep it. One guy that called 3 pounds, whatever, you know, Rob Power. He's up right there off me. When you want to get this.
Then you.
So you know, okay. Yeah, well, right in there, I mean, I'll share, I'll freak my face, so that is, I was like, I was like, take it away. Yeah, that's.
You come in, tornadoes, you gotta go down.
No, I know where. But yeah, that's where I'm coming down. It's really not that strong.
You live down the right here.
And do you have that's all we're doing. That's wrong.
How heavy that is. It's not a light bulb.
Well, I work 2 summers, like in Barry, Plain Barry, Barry Steve, way up there. We constantly, we have, during summer, I'm working, we have grandpa. Right there out the street.
I do more charters. I got a small business. I keep down. I got, yeah, about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I just keep that. It's multi-creek there.
Almost went to the base on the high side. Because I know nothing about it.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, that. There's a couple of things, like I have
Oh, no, it's like that. It's like that every time. I've been over here.
Hey, does that name wheel work? That name wheel work okay? Yeah.
No, if
I don't know if the spelling's right. Chicken scratch.
Matt,
But then a trailer.
Let's see.
Mark Thomas is the seminar director, and he's conservationist. So we really push conservation with Salt Strong, and Mark's taking it upon himself to really push and go forward with that. Dustin Richardson
He's up front.
out front, he's our tournament director. Justin Mayfield is our IT guy. So if you have any issues with your phones, your IT, anytime working on your app, he's your guy. And in 4 months of dealing with this, that's one of the biggest complaints that we have is IT issues. People can't get online, their apps ain't working, they don't know how to navigate through their apps. So we brought him on just to help us out with that because he's really good with that. Welcome to people that's new. This is our 4th month. We're up to 158 members. So first one we had 80 something, second one we had 80 something, third one we had 40 something, and I think there's 40 something here between up here and online. This is our first live stream. We are recording it. And people can sign on and watch it as we're doing this. So for you guys online, welcome.
you can also watch it later. You can also watch it later too.
Yeah, you can play it back and see it later. So we're progressing, trying to get better and better. We hear people's feedback and we try to do something with it. So there's a lot of new guys this month. We've had, surprisingly, this month was the most I've ever seen on the welcome new members as far as Salt Strong as a whole. And for you guys that don't know, you know friends that's on the fence and not decided if they want to join or not, June 1st, your yearly subscription goes from $99 to $145. The good thing about where we are today is we're all grandfathered in at $95. If you sign up before June 1st, it'll stay the $99 for the rest as long as you want to stay with Salt Strong. It's our first increase in subscriptions in 8 years. So most of that money goes back into development of programs for all the smart spots, the launch sites, the public land, private land, all that. So they put a lot of that money back into it. So, which is pretty good for you guys that participate on using some smart spots. We really encourage you guys to post pictures, fish, comments. The drawings that Salt Strong does every month is based on you responding, commenting, liking posts. So if you post 100 times, you get 4 entries. If you post 4 times, you get 4 entries. But they draw out of that. So everybody at the end of the month or middle of the month should be getting your 4 entries for the 3 prizes per month. Be thinking about this. We want to have a tournament next weekend, the 18th. So be kind of thinking my thing here, and I kind of put it on Facebook. The community is kind of Dolphin Island because that gives everyone a chance. pier fishermen, bank fishermen, kayakers, boaters, whatever it is. So we want something that everybody can participate in. My thing was I wanted to start like 3 o'clock in the morning so we can get some night fishing and break it into daytime fishing. But our tournaments are set up that you can fish night, day, weekends, anytime you're available. We don't have a set launch blast off at 5 a.m. and you come in at 2 p.m. So typically our tournaments last all month. And you fish when you can, when you want to. All you do is take a picture, measure it, post it on a tournament entry on the community chapter page. So that's pretty good. But y'all think about it. We'll talk about it a little bit at the end. Like I said, at the end, if y'all have questions for Justin on your apps, please feel free. He made some nice presentation tonight of basically all the posts and pictures for the month. How many was it this month we got in the last April and May?
New members or posts?
Yes, chapter members.
30.
So 30 new members in the last 2 months. So
That was just in, from the last meeting to this meeting.
so we're still growing.
In one month, yeah.
One thing I would like to emphasize on is, put emphasis on, is the RSVP. We get basically free money from Salt Strong for this tackle here, and it's based off attendance to the meetings. So if we're over 50, we get $100 to spend. If we're at 50 or below, we get $50 to spend. Last month was our lowest month, and we got $50, but it's, it's something that they do free for us. And, but the more RSVPs, the more people online, more people that attend, makes it better for you guys because we put 100% of that back into you guys for the drawings. We have, our personal best competitions. We have, every month we pick a red, a trout, a flounder, whatever. That's the species of the month, target species of the month. And it's been based off of how many likes, how many comments they got per post. So Matt may have some different ideas on that. But we're going to get going here. Anybody got any questions so far? All right. Turn it over to Matt. We're going to have a word of prayer, and then we'll turn it over to Mark.
I just want to say, welcome everybody. If I didn't get to see you, I know that fellow walking in. If I didn't get a chance to see you coming in, welcome. If this is your first time, we're grateful to have you here. I don't know how many of you have ever read the mission statement of Salt Strong, but the mission statement of Salt Strong is to unite friends and families, to serve fishermen, and to honor God and Jesus Christ in everything we do. So we always like to try to start off every meeting we have with just a little prayer. So if you will, right here with me. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day. Thank you so much, Lord, for everybody who's come out today, Lord, just to fellowship and gather together, Lord, just to learn a little bit more about fishing. And Lord, I ask that you please just bless each and every one of them, keep them safe as they travel back home tonight, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Mr. Mark?
All right, so tonight we got Mr. Richard Rutland speaking for us. He's a local guide, tournament fisherman, conservationist. He does a lot for the area with CPA. He listens to the Alabama Saltwater Fishermen Report. You hear him all the time. So, should be a good talk. I think he's going to touch on some wading, some sleek lure fishing, and some conservation stuff. So, Mr. Richard Rutland.
I'm Richard Rutland. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Letting me come out here and speak to y'all. I'll tell you a little bit about myself before we get going. Mobile, Alabama native. I went to McGill in high school. Went into the U.S. military. Was in the Navy for 4 years. Came home. Enrolled in South Alabama. Started going back to school and kind of started my guiding career while I was in school, right around when the oil spill was happening. So, anywho, I'm going to talk to y'all about wading today. This is one of my most I wish, I tell people all the time, I wish I could wade around here 365 days out of the year, you know? I absolutely love to get in the water and wade. I don't know what it is, but it just really, 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 has my attention. I guess what I'm gonna start with first is my gear here. And then I'll get into where to go wading, and then we'll talk the fishing side of it. So, you know, you can see my belt here. This is you can see my belt here. This thing's called an Easy Wade. They make these in Texas, and it's, when I say Easy Wade, it's the letter EZ-Wade. They're not very easy to find online. If you just go type in Wade belt, you know, it doesn't come up very quickly. So just remember Easy Wade. This is called the HP, which is called a high profile. And then they make an LP. There's really not a lot of difference, maybe about 2 inches or so. The low profile was just a little bit shorter, but it's got some really nice pouches inside. You can see I got lure stuffed in there from my last wave, and got a couple rod holders on the back here. I always love to carry multiple rods with me when I go. So, you know, I always usually have like a top water and a slick rod with me, or if we're pitching croakers or something, I'll have a croaker rod and a slick rod. It just kind of depends on that, but it's really nice to be able to carry a extra rod, and then you got another one up front. So when you've got your belt on and you get a fish up, you can, you know, stick your rod here and then handle the fish. You know, let them slack out and be able to handle the fish. They make really high quality D-rings on here. I've had this one for, I think, 2 or 3 years, you know, and you can see it, take care of it, and I swear it still looks brand new. So that's nice. It's got a little place for a tackle pouch back here. I always suggest getting these Plano waterproof boxes. It just kind of depends what your preference is, but I like all my stuff to be sealed up and not exposed to the salt water. If I don't have to, I still open it up and rinse it out after every trip, just to get any salt that's in there out. You know, some people will drill holes in the bottom of them, you know, so that the water drains out or whatever, but I like my stuff sealed up. I can't remember the name of this, but it's a Plano guide series, something or another. This is something really cool that I found a couple of years ago. This is what you call a long liner clip. They sell them too. This company that makes the stringer sells these. These things are great. This is called y'all are gonna laugh when I say the name of this brand. It's called a Stinky Pants stringer is the name of this stringer, but it's really nice. It's just coated wire. One thing I really like about it is, like, when you do have a stringer full of fish, you get back in the boat, you can just throw all your fish and stringer in the ice box, and then this little float comes right off. They just slide right off, you know, because anybody who's done any wade fishing and put fish on the stringer, it's like it's a chore to pull all of them off one at a time, you know, versus where you just pull this joker out and it comes right off. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll kind of get it out behind me or whatever you got to fish, and then this thing just clips right on, just like that, you know. And so I usually like leave a little bit more slack out. So I got a fish on. I usually put the fish on the stringer, and then I take him off the hook. And then while you're holding the fish, you know, clip this and slide the fish down and flip it back. You know what I mean? So you don't lose them out of the net or in your hands or something like that. That's the worst feeling in the world, is to lose one when you're wading. It's tricky when you're wading if you've never done it before. Everything is a little bit more mature and everything dry. And then you can see I got a nice landing net here. I got this one last year. I like it. It's a little big. It's kind of hard to get through the water with it, you know, because it's got this rubber on it. But I like how big it is. It's easy to get up under a fish. You can net a bull red with this net right here, and it's nice on the fish if you're releasing fish. Because it's got this rubber and it's not kind of like that coated nylon or whatnot, which will sometimes, especially with speckled trout, will strip strip the slime coat off of your fish, which really, it's, really important to the fish, to be able to live. It's, you know, it's just like our skin. It's one of their organs, and it's really imperative to try to handle and take care of the fish good if you're gonna let them go. This is just like a little leader keeper. I could come up with something better, but this is what I came up with when I did it. Just so you can bring some extra leader with you too. And I always carry a set of pliers with me as well. I don't know what the name of these pliers are, but I've had them for like 3 years, and you can see they still work really good. I got them off of Amazon somewhere, and they're only about $15. Like I said, I don't remember what they were. They've got a little thing for a split ring separator on there for when you want to swap out some hooks on a top water lure or something like that. But I really like this wading belt. I've used all of them that you can buy from any of the box stores around here, and they all tear up after a year, and these things have held up so well. Next part of my equipment here is with shoes. You really have got to have some good shoes if you want to jump in the water and wade. It is imperative to keep your feet in good shape. Mark and I were kind of talking about it a little bit before. You know, we have a threat of getting Vibrio around here. We know people who have died from it, lost limbs from it. So taking care of yourself while you're out there is really important. And I wear Sims stuff. I buy anything Sims that I can. They make just unbelievable equipment. My waders are Sims. I'm not wearing waders anymore. But they make really good waders. These wading shoes are great. They make good boots that if you're going to wear waders to go in and whatnot. But you really got to protect yourself out there because you have no idea what's on the bottom. You know, I wade over shells, grass, sand, the whole 9 yards, mud, the whole 9 yards. These really do it for me. The thing I've noticed in the past, I have tried, like I said, I've just about tried everything there is to try. And some of the other stuff that I bought, either off of Amazon or going to the stores and whatnot, and if you don't have something that like tightens up good around your ankle there, you're going to get shells in there, you're going to get sand in there, you're going to get all kinds of stuff in there. And so this is one company that really does it well. Is like I said, anything Sims that I can use that I can buy, they just it's very pricey, but it lasts for quite a long time. And I meant to say this before, but if anybody's got any questions as I'm going through all this, I talk real fast and I'm just going to keep on going and talking 100 miles an hour. So if anybody has a question about anything, I love when people stop and ask questions because it gets my wheels turning and go in different directions than where I would have previously. So if anybody's got any questions about my gear, kind of before I move on.
Do you use a floating net or?
This one does float, and I did not mention the name of this net. It's called an EGO or EGO. And I believe this is the medium size is what this one is. They make one bigger than this, and then they make one smaller. But this is a float. I believe a lot of kayakers kind of like this net too because it floats. You know, when you're kayaking around the boat.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Yes, sir.
You said you're not using waders anymore, you're just going bare leg and shorts? Or what?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it, when I would love to just wear waders here. Find in the past couple of years wearing waders is when you get to this time of year when the water temperature is starting to get around 80 degrees, when you get out of the water and take your waders off, you're just as wet as if you would have went in with no waders because you're sweating the entire time because you're just sitting in there condensating a bunch of yeah, for sure. So I would love to be able to man up and wear them, year round because it is very nice to get out of the water and take your stuff off and be bone dry like that when you get done wading. Another tip that I'll give y'all that I do all the time. I tend to get, what we call swamp bass, when you go wade, either in your waders or while you're, just in the water. And, a little trick I use is, antiperspirant deodorant. Kind of wipe that all around your, in between your legs and whatnot, and that'll usually kind of take care of a lot of that. And I'll do it the night before I know I'm gonna go wading. It usually does the trick, because I used to chafe really, really, really bad for a long time, and I don't remember who told me that, but I tried it, and sure enough, that's a pro tip of the night right there.
You leave that stick of deodorant out for other people.
Oh, yeah, I've got several sticks of deodorant on the boat, people are looking through my stuff sometimes, they're like, what, you got deodorant here for, you stink? I'm like, no.
You never know when you need it.
That's right. Do you got any more questions about my stuff up here before I move along? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Yeah. So next I'll get into, places to wade fish. Places to wade fish for me never end. It's always a constant, something I'm looking for. And I find probably 3 or 4 new places to wade every year. And the thing to do is, I'm in a boat all the time. I don't know what everybody's situation is, if you're shore-based or kayaking or jet skiing or whatever you're doing. But I'm always paying attention, like even when I'm fishing, you can tell when you're fishing over mud or you're fishing over shells or things like that. You go to different areas to start paying attention to that. I've got power poles on my boat, so every time I'm fishing around and I hit those, scrubbing sounds like it's scrubbing the concrete, that's oyster shells, or you can kind of hear it when it's sand. It'll kind of make a different noise, so that's the thing for me, is trying to always seek and destroy out like shells, sand, grass beds, things like that, because it's really difficult to wade over mud. I can tell you, I've done a lot of wading over mud in our area, and we have a ton of mud here. No, it's not fun at all. You can skip leg day that week when you go wading over mud. You don't have to hit the legs that week. So that's always is. And I know you guys have like y'all's map on your app and whatnot. I don't have the app yet, but anyway, a lot of that will kind of point you in some of the good directions of that. I used to always talk about the old top spot maps back in the day. It would show you where grass and sand. Most of the time when you have grass beds in our area, you're going to have some harder bottom there. Sometimes you jump in the water when there's grass and it's soft and you're sinking to your ankles, not to your knees, but to your ankles, walking along. And those can be a little bit tougher wades, but sometimes it works out. And but definitely early in the year like this, I love being around grass and shells. Not so much just like a straight sandy bottom where you're fishing like troughs, like just more bottom features. But I really like that grass and shells earlier in the year. And I think the main reason behind that is that it attracts a lot of bait this time of year versus the fish when they kind of get everywhere. Earlier, they're going to be attracted to those two features most of the time to start out with. So, like I said, I'm always just trying to pay attention every time I'm out on the water to try to find somewhere new to wade. And of course, you've got to have the other aspects of just the bottom type to wade on. You got to have bait, and water movement is good. It's not needed, not like a swift current by any means, but some water movement is good. And then, of course, like I said, just bait. I can always kind of pull up to an area that I'm going to fish. I'm thinking about wading when you're going in like waist deep water. If there's any bait there, it's usually going, and there's fish feeding, it's usually going to be on the surface, and it's it really just jumps off the page at me. You're going to see mullet jumping, and you're going to see pogies kind of flipping around, maybe see some trout slicks. Does everybody know what a trout slick is here?
No.
What's that?
No.
Okay. So a slick, I wish I had a picture or something to show you of one, but so trout are just notorious for giving themselves away about slick, what we call it slicking. And they when they eat, They flare their gills and open their mouth and suck in a bunch of water to inhale their bait. They inhale it straight through their stomach most of the time. And they have to regurgitate some of that water that they sucked into their stomach. And that stomach acid makes a slick. And when you're right in front of some fish that are feeding, you can sit right there and watch it. It's really cool to sit there and watch it. A slick will pop up the size of this net right here, you know, about this big. And then it'll get as big as this little atrium right in here, you know, about the time it forms up and moves off. So you're always, and they smell too. You can smell them. They smell real sweet, like watermelon is what a lot of people will say that it smells like. To me, it just smells like fish, but other people say it smells like watermelon. It's a real sweet smell. It's very distinct. I wish they could put it in a can. I'd be spraying it around my house every day, you know. It's very intoxicating, you know, when you buy them. And I was talking about, like, I'll be running 55 miles an hour in my boat somewhere and smell one and start looking around. Oh, there they are over there, you know, and slow down. I found a school of fish like that the other day in a place that I hadn't fished yet this year. But in a lot of times when they're going off, you'll see like a series of them, you know, like in the farther that the wind or current pushes them, the bigger that they're going to get, right? So you're going to want to find where the fish are going to be like where the small ones are popping up. And you kind of got to think about stop and think, okay, the wind's blowing this way, the current's going this way, you know, so the slicks are going that direction, so I need to be looking this direction, you know. You kind of always call it following the yellow brick road. You know, find them and start moving up current, upwind. They're not going to be where the slick is, you know, like where you see the big slick. Oh yeah, yeah. So that one's been formed up for a long time right there. You know, that slick happened probably up on the bank. Up on the bank, like where those two trees look like a teepee up there. It looks like another little bitty one up there. That one happened a long way away from that is. And that's the trick to it, is finding out where they're coming from. You want to fish upwind, up current from that. And I usually kind of want to set up a drift to it as well. You know what I mean? You don't want to just bowl right against the wind or the current up to where the fish are. You know, if the slicks are coming from here and the wind's, you know, kind of blowing this direction, you want to come back around and set up right. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a classic one over there in this left corner right here. Yep. Yeah, when you see that, it's a real distinct sheen. Now, what you don't want to get fooled by are what we call wind slicks. And the wind slick, man, will go for a long way. And that's like coming off you'll see those coming off of like the corner of an island or out of a bayou or a creek or something like that, whichever way the tide and the wind is moving. You'll see this thing that's real long and straight and not real wide. You know, you want to look for circular to oval shape. Slick, just kind of like that one was up there just a second ago. Like I said, they're more circular to oval shape. And then you just got to kind of triangulate and set up to get up above those. But definitely want to be seeing all those things when you go to jump in the water before you start fishing. Like I said, this time of year, it's all about the mullet for me. I always want to be seeing. If I'm not seeing any mullet jumping or pushing around or something like that, I really don't have a lot of confidence that there's going to be a lot of speckled trout around. And every one of my rods and reels that I'm going to show you off all my setups over here all have mullet patterns on them, you know, tied on them, whether it's the top water or the slick lure, the two things that I'm going to talk about the most here in just a little bit.
How many is too many, you know? I've been in areas where, say, it's old, you couldn't see the bottom.
Yeah, no, there's not too many.
Okay.
I wouldn't say you can find too many.
Okay.
Is it true that big trout and big redfish kind of hang with those big schools of mullets?
I think so.
Predators and stuff?
I think so. I've asked that question a lot of times to a lot of people, and nobody can really give me a definitive answer on that. But my thought process is to the, like when it comes to the mullet, I feel like trout and reds shadow big schools of mullet. They are feeding on them somewhat, but I don't care if the mullet are this big or this big. You know what I mean? Like just seeing mullet around is a good sign that there's something there. I feel like they shadow each other, and I kind of think about it like this: if there's a school of 10,000 mullet along this, 100-yard bank, and there's a school of 500 trout in there with all the mullet, it's that less of a chance that a predator is going to get them, because they have to worry about, like, once it warms up, like this time of year, they have so many predators out there. They're already catching trout, like, teeth marks from dolphins on them, and sharks. I've seen a couple sharks already around. So they're having to worry about predators, and I feel like that's why they're shadowing those big schools of mullet. But you gotta be around. You want to be around some mullet. Now you don't have to be able to walk across them, but you want to see some jumping around. You want to see some life. The other day I jumped in the water, and the place I hadn't really fished a whole lot just yet, and when we jumped in, man, when we pulled up with the boat, put the anchor down, you would have never known there was any life there. I was kind of really just taking a chance on an area that's been historically really good to me. And we got in the water, and I was kind of wasn't feeling great about it. I started walking, and I started pushing them. You could see the mullet kind of pushing. And then we hit a minor saloon phase that we hit, and that we were fishing through, and all of a sudden, man, the whole bank just lit up. You know what I mean? They all got up on the surface. They were pushed up against the bank, and we started catching the fish. Started slicking, and we started catching them. One after another. And so you really, really, really got to pay attention when you're out there. And I always do one trip to the next. You know what I mean? You can see a bunch of mullets on there. One day, chances are, a day or two or a week later, there's a good possibility that they'll be there again, so come back and try that the next time if you don't have time to fish it that day. And just keep pounding those mental notes in every trip. Any other questions? All right, I guess we'll start talking about my setups, how I catch them. I'm going to start off with top water. Had a really, really good topwater day the other day. A couple biggest trout I caught this year on this setup the other day. It was I didn't have like a measuring stick. It was probably a legit 27, 28 inch fish, probably 6.5, 7 pounder. It was a hammer. It was so much fun. I'll talk about my rod first. So I do two different setups with topwater. I either fish, this is a 7-foot rod. I can't tell y'all brands to go buy or anything as far as like your rod. I just kind of tell you, because I build all my own rods. So I can just kind of tell you the action and everything that you're looking for. This is a medium power, fast action. And you can see it's fairly soft. Like it comes down, like it bends to about halfway of the rod. And that's kind of where you want to be. Because you need it fast enough so that you can tick that topwater along and make it walk the dog good. But you also want it soft enough so when you get the fish on, that you're not putting too much heat on them, because with these treble hooks, they just love to shake them treble hooks loose out of their mouth. I feel like some days you lose more than you catch fishing with. I got 6 hooks I'm looking at right there, and it's amazing that a fish can come off of that they do. I always tie a non-slip loop. I don't know if y'all can see it from this far. I'd be glad to show anybody how to tie any of these knots after I get done. If you just come up here and see me, I'll show you how to tie any of the stuff you'd like. But it's a non-slip loop if you look it up online. And I use, I think this is 10-pound monofilament on this setup. The reason I like mono, and this is about one of the only setups that I really use monofilament on, the reason I like mono is mono has so much stretch in it. I feel like I'm fishing with a rubber band when I'm fishing with monofilament. And I like that because when you do get the fish on and you get loaded up on them, that stretch helps keep the fish's mouth, the hooks glued in that fish's mouth, versus having a bunch of heat on them with like a real fast action rod and whatnot. I want everything soft when I'm fishing these top waters. And I fish a fairly, I would say, a much looser drag than I would when I'm fishing a slick lure or something of that nature. The only other situation I would use this rod would be if when we start to get into live bait season, when we start tight lining croakers. This is a great setup for that as well, using like a big kale hook. Top waters, as far as the lures go, this is called a mirror lure she dog. I really like the she dog because it's got a real high pitched rattle in it. You can hear how noisy it is. And my other favorite one than this one is a Super Spook, the one with the Eden Super Spook. It's got 3 hooks on it. One of my old school tricks on that Super Spook is I'll take that center hook out, and I usually add another split ring to each hook, and I replace the hooks. I can't stand the hooks that they sit them with. And as far as the hooks go, I'm an owner guy. I really like owners. They are just deadly sharp, and you hardly ever have one like break off or fail or whatnot. They hold up to the to your saltwater conditions and whatnot real well. But I really like that Super Spook. Probably my number like 2 and 3 trout that biggest I've ever caught in my life are both on that Super Spook. That's a really good lure. And I'll talk about that a little bit more too. That Super Spook really shines in choppy conditions. When you're fishing in some chop, you got a little bit of wave activity. Let's just say like ankle high waves that you're fishing in or whatnot. That Spook works good because you can throw it a really long way, and it makes a bunch of noise. You know, you can really. I'm really aggressive with my twitch. I like it to be throwing. I like it to be with that Super Spook. I like it to be throwing water every time that I'm twitching it. And then this one's a good like all around. You know, whether you got slick calm conditions or choppy conditions, this works good. And then my next favorite one is the Skitter V, which is it's kind of a smaller version of this, and it's got a real distinct V down the middle, and that's good for really slick calm conditions. I feel like there's sometimes you can be a little too aggressive, I guess, and the calmer that the conditions are, the water conditions are, the more subtle you want to be as well, with your retrieve and whatnot.
Those slick times, would you recommend you go into a rattleless top water? Or you always want that?
I usually like to have a rattle. Like I said, that Skitter V is not, it's not even half as loud as this one. This one's really loud. I'm more interested in the profile, of it twitching along.
Do you always work on hard like that?
I do, but topwater is one of those things that's really exciting to me. It's a lot of fun because you have to talk the fish into biting. You know what I mean? Some days they want that jugger tick, 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 as fast as you can work it, and other days they want just tick, 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 and I'm always when I'm topwater fishing, I love topwater fishing this time of year. It's a really great search tool because they just seem to be spawning real heavy this time of year. A bunch of baits showed up. They just seem angry. So if there's some fish around, they're going to blow up on it, and you can kind of go at it go at it whichever direction you want after that. But at least tell you there's some fish there. But every time I make a cast, in one cast, I'm usually doing 3 different cadences as I'm working it along. I'll do that tick, 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 or I'll just slow it down and then, it's kind of mindless sometimes when you're walking along, just fan casting in an area, and you're just kind of doing the same thing. I'm always trying to keep my eyes peeled for slicks popping up, for mullet getting busted out of the water or whatnot. Just trying to find some kind of sign or somewhere to point me to where some fish are going to be. But yeah, like I said, 2 or 3 different cadences while you're doing it. You always want to work some pauses in there too. As you're twitching that jugger along, I'll just stop reeling, just kill the lure. And sometimes for 5-6 seconds, something like that. I got a great bite the other day. I had a long cast out. I was working the lure. I was trying to light a cigarette. I was pulling. I'd done this with my rod. I was trying to light a cigarette. Boom, got a bite. I had the one hand and put everything back in my pocket. So they will definitely hit it on that pause. And some, I've had some days. I always remember this real memorable day that Patrick Armisen and I had on the West End. They wanted it sitting still. It was wild. Like, we threw it out there and we just didn't reel it or anything. Just threw it out there and let it sit, and they eventually find it and pop it. It was crazy. You just never know what's gonna happen with that. But where it goes pauses in with top water.
Favorite color?
Love this hot pink. Pink is really good on that Skitterbee. They make one kind of hot olive. It's like an orange belly, green back. Really like that one. Of course, they make a pink in that color as well. I don't know what they call the color that I love on Super Spook. They make a pink one that's really good. I want to say it's called Excalibur maybe, but it's kind of like got a green back, white belly with a green stripe down the side. That's but man, you can't go wrong with that hot pink. I don't know what it is about that hot pink on the top water, but they do real good on that.
What's your opinion on keeping the treble hooks versus changing out to regular hooks?
I haven't tried this. I haven't tried the straight line one.
Especially on the speckled trout, I've seen them destroy their mouths with them. You end up hooking them multiple times.
With the trebles, yeah, that's just part of it. It's just gonna happen.
That's why I've been considering lately, like trying to experiment with that, seeing, I wasn't sure if you had ever tried it, if it increased the amount of fish that you missed.
Yeah, no, I have not tried it. I've heard varying reports on that. And I pretty much hate a treble hook with a passion on an artificial lure, like especially since the slip lure has come out. I do not throw any. The only hard bait I throw is a top water, and I still don't even like throwing top water sometimes because you pull off so many daggone fish with them, you know. But I'm combating that a lot of ways with my setup, you know, with using monofilament. The other thing too about mono that you don't realize is it floats, which is real important. Braid does the same thing. When I use my braid setup, which I'll get to in a second for a top water, I'm always using a mono leader, not a fluorocarbon leader, because you want all that to float, you know, especially when you start doing that pausing thing. You don't want your fluorocarbon to start sinking or anything like that, and you got to work it again, and your lure will get tugged underwater by your line. But no, I have not tried the straight line hook thing. I'm interested in it, but I have not tried it. Who knows?
You generally just stick with like this style of top water lures you're talking about now. Do you ever have left with poppers or?
I just haven't really tried poppers a whole lot. I know some people have done well on them in the past. I watched my dad catch a really big one a long time ago when I was a kid on a popper. But no, I've not.
And we were fishing the other day, launched out of Dolphin Island. We had some reds busting around the boat. And we were like 2.5 foot of water. And I had what I use dirty popper, black in the back and silver. And I was working it every which way you could think, and I couldn't get the fish to hit nothing. He was hitting something on the surface, probably from the water.
Right. A popper would make way more sense for a redfish to me, you know, than a speckled trout. Because that pop that the pop is making sounds like a fish blowing up. I just feel like that's a little too much for the trout. You gotta be a little bit more subtle with the speckled trout. They're real visual feeders. And very, very spooky. So cool. Anything else about top water before I move along? This is the other one of the other rods I like using, and this is not even really one of my favorites for a top water, but it's a spinning one. I just brought it as a spinning setup. I use it both ways with a top water or a slick lure, but it's longer. It's a 7.6. And this one's pretty fast. You can see how about the only last third of the rod bends, and that's what makes it a good slick lure rod. Is that it's got a ton. That's what I always say. It's got a ton of ass right in here. You know, in this section when you go to set the hook. The slick lure is it's a lot of plastic. If anybody's not familiar with this already, it's a lot of plastic, and you're fishing the single hook. And what you got to do is get that hook to penetrate out through all that plastic to poke inside their mouth. So that's why I like a rod with a lot of backbone. You know, basically only want the last quarter to third of the rod to bend. You know, this is where you want your power, is right in here. And when I say you gotta set the hook with this thing, you gotta set the hook. I always say you gotta come out of your shoes with it, you know, when you set the hook. So anyway, this is a 7.6, one of my rods I built. Generally everything inshore wise, I'm using a Daiwa 2500 side reel. Usually can tackle everything that I needed to tackle. This is a Daiwa BG MQ. This is a Ferrari of a reel. I really like this reel a lot. But I also really like just the regular Daiwa BGs. They're just absolute workhorse reels for the price point. Are really, really good. I fish either 15 or 20 pound braided line. And then I come to, you can see on this one, I got about a 4 foot section of fluorocarbon leader here. I really like I'm going to say this, but I don't tie it, but if you know what an Alberto knot is or an improved Albright, I tie a version of that knot. I've played with it and I tie my own version of it, but it's very similar. Performs the same way, it's just a little thinner how I tie it. But anywho, that's what I use, and then there again you can kind of see I got my non-slip loop knot right here on this underhook. We'll talk about the hook too with fishing the slip lure. The only hook that you want to fish with the slip lure is that under beast 4-rod, either weighted or unweighted.
So last summer, I guess, you couldn't find the beasts.
That's right. That's because I had them all.
So what I found was the trocars, the Eagle trocars, they're a little more expensive, but I think theirs is a 5-ball. And I also heard Bobby Abiscato talking about the Hayabusa hooks. Have you tried any of those, and what size do you use for the big slicks?
The Hayabusa hooks I have used on the Slick Junior, not on the big slick. I didn't bring any of my junior stuff today, but I do use that Hayabusa on the juniors. I had tried the trocars, and you can set the trocar and the beast right next to each other, and there's very, very, very little difference. And maybe it's just in my mind. I don't know what it is, but this one works better.
That's all.
That's my answer. Sticks to it.
I just had to scramble to find it.
Yeah, no, and I know plenty of people who did that and it worked fine. The only thing you can't do with that trocar is you can't tuck the hook if you need to or you want to, because it's got that cutting point on the top of it. It wants to pop out. But I've been using these owners since I can remember. My dad and I used to throw them in redfish tournaments when we were fishing big swim baits for reds when we were sight casting over in Louisiana. We used to use this beast, and that's right when these things first came out. I called Joey down in Florida who was making these, and he and I talked immediately about the beast, and he was very surprised that I knew what it was, and I figured that out. I wanted to know how I got his lures and everything else, because he was making them. When I called him up and started talking to him about this thing, he was making these things 2 at a time in his garage. He had it's either 2 or 4 at a time. He was heating up the plastic in a microwave, and pouring them in his garage. That's where this thing came from. Oh yeah. He was selling 2 of them for $9 a piece. We were buying them as fast as we could. But that owner beast, that's the way you want to go. I would say 90% of the time I'm throwing the weighted one. You don't have to worry about how heavy it is. They only make the 4-rod 2 ways, unweighted or weighted. It's an 1/8 ounce or it has none on there. For the most part, I'm always throwing the weighted slick. There are some instances I like throwing the unweighted one. And I can't do it with this setup. I have to use fluorocarbon line, like 100% fluorocarbon line to make that unweighted lure work very well. Because it wants to get up on the surface and jump out of the water, and it won't work right. That's right. That fluorocarbon kind of gets it to sink down. gets it to sink down a little bit.
So you run a straight fluorocarbon, nothing?
Yeah, so that's like on my next setup over here, yeah, on my bait caster here, the whole spool is fluorocarbon line.
What do you, like, I have such trouble getting with the mono and the fluorocarbon, trying to just spool down on the reel. You do anything for that?
I will, I wouldn't say I do it every time, but when I remember to do it, whenever I spool up a new reel, I do stretch it out. I'll walk out from like where I keep my boat, I'll tie it onto something, and I'll walk out till I get about half the spool on here, and I stretch it out. You know, I hold the spool and I kind of just walk until I feel like it's not quite breaking strength. You know, this I use Berkeley Pro Spec is what I'm throwing. And I think the 10-pound man, and it probably breaks it more like 20 pounds. So it's super strong, but I do like to stretch it out some. There again, I was kind of talking about with that mono, fishing with a rubber band. I still feel like I'm fishing with a rubber band with this fluorocarbon, but it's not near as bad as mono. Mono's got a ton of stretch in it. This has got about 60% less stretch than mono does, and then you got braided, which is 0 stretch. So this is kind of in between, closer to the braided side as far as the stretch goes than Mighty Filament. But on this setup, I kind of go back and forth between a 7.3 and a 7.6. I brought both of them today. And I definitely like a stiffer tip on my faster tip on my fluorocarbon rods, because like I said, I feel like I'm fishing with a rubber band, you know. So when I've got to really try to kind of keep it when I'm working the lure, really got to keep the rod out in front of me. I'm a wild man with a braided setup. I feel like I'm just whacking the lure so hard, and I'm doing it like up in this section right here. And then when you come tight, I mean, you can get away with it. You know, when you get a bite and you get tight, you're like right in this section, and you can reel down to. With this fluorocarbon, if you get a bite and you're up here, you're going to be inside out. You know what I mean? Your rod's going to be pointing that way, and you're going to be trying to reel down and get tight to a fish. I really have to keep my rod out in front of me so that when I do step back and set the hook, that I can kind of get tight right in this area, because there's still a fair amount of stretch in it. The advantage of fluorocarbon for me is that it sinks. I really like that it sinks, which kind of can lend itself to weighting, or kind of be a disadvantage if you need to fish slower. You want your retrieve a little slower in some areas. Your whole setup gets on the bottom. So the braid works better in those situations than the fluorocarbon. But I've really kind of become a fluorocarbon junkie over the past 2 or 3 years. My tournament partner, Bobby Everscotto, he fishes fluorocarbon everything. And so I kind of picked it up from him. That's why I do it. But I definitely like a stiffer, I want more tip in my rod, just for that reason. Like I said, I fish 10-pound I use pretty much all 200 size bait casters. These are some old Cororados that I really like. And then still same knot on the fluorocarbon, that non-slip loop knot is really easy to tie. So anybody got any questions about that? And this is my braid setup. Same reel, same non-slip loop, kind of same setup as my spinning rod there. You can see I got a pretty long leader on this one, probably about 6 foot long. It's just inside the tip there. With my braided setup, I like more of a spongy tip. You can see how this one kind of comes all the way down and bends all the way down to right in here. This is an extra fast tip. Kind of hard to read that on paper sometimes when you're looking at rods. It says an extra fast tip, because I've ordered blanks before, and they say extra fast tip, and it things like a 2x4 out there, you know. This one's really spongy. You know, you can kind of see, and that really lends well to me getting a bait to get a lot of side-to-side movement. I feel like with this setup right here, if I'm working the lure on a straight line, I'm making it go this, 2 feet side to side, when you look out in the water and it's swimming through the water. And like I said, I yank on this thing. I'm gonna let some slack out. I'm just gonna kind of show you what my cadence would look like. But I'm really whacking the lure and then reeling down. And I throw the handle down to pick up my slack each time. But I didn't really go through how I do it with fluorocarbon setup. But my fluorocarbon setup, when I'm working it, like I said, I'm keeping my rod out from me. I'm just kind of slowly reel fast twice. I go wham, wham, and will just slowly reel. Wham, wham. I give it a little bit of a jig. It's kind of hard to show y'all without having my lure out there in the water because I have the tension on the rod, but I'm just like I do 2 fast reels, and then I just kind of slowly reel. I just go wham, wham, and you'll see it when you get next to the boat. It does almost the same thing that I accomplish with the braid when I'm whacking it real hard. Is it kind of does this little motion and just kind of glides. You just want it to go like that, and it just kind of glides.
What about the gear ratio?
I use 7-to-1. 7-to-1 is what all my reels are. I was talking to Mark earlier. These Corrados that I use, they haven't made them since like 2008. I've got like 36 of them. So I only know how to work a 7-to-1 reel, But a 7-to-1 is plenty fast. They make them faster, 8, 10-to-1, but 7's plenty fast. You don't want to go the other direction.
Yeah, that was the reason I was asking, because I was going to try casting. It's like an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's plenty fast.
And the thing I noticed though is that it seems like I'm pulling too much line in. Like doing the twist, like and doing the quick thrust.
Right.
It's pulling it so much further.
Right.
I wonder if I was hurting the slick lure versus.
You might be.
Say a 7-to-1 or.
Right. You might be. I mean, to my knowledge, the only reason they make slower than 7-to-1 is for like bass guys that want to crankbait fish. You know what I mean? They like that little bit slower retrieve or whatnot. That could be the case, but as long as your lure stays down, it's not just, you'll know when you're working too fast, it'll start flying out of the water. I have to make myself slow down all the time with this thing, especially when I'm fishing the braided setup, because that braid just wants to float. So I start seeing my lure jumping out of the water. I know I'm working it too fast. I need to slow it down some.
So on your braid, you just use available stay or?
No, I use the floor. I kind of go back and forth between mono and fluorocarbon, but I do prefer to have fluorocarbon in a little bit. I know this is for back fluorocarbon because of how much I tie on here, and that helps keep the lure down. When you go to mono, sometimes you'll see the lure jumping out of the water, and you switch back over and tie a little bit longer section of fluoro on, and it'll want to stay down better. Generally speaking, while you're wave fishing, you're already down in the water. I have that problem more when I'm out of the boat and I'm standing, way above the water versus when I'm down in it.
What kind was that for?
20, I use 20, 15 or 20 is plenty. If you go to 15, you can use 15. Like if you get some you don't really get a whole lot of like gin clear water around Alabama, but if it is clear, fishing in the middle of the day with a big sky, big sun, no cloud cover, stepping down is okay, for sure, but you want to make sure if you're catching fish, you want to check and retie your knot, all day long. That's something I've noticed when I do that I'm not very disciplined to do sometimes, is to make sure that you keep on retying that knot, because you always want to get the next one, because it takes time to stop and cut and retie and do all that. I guess I could talk a little bit about colors. I brought the slick box here. So color-wise, always kind of my mindset with colors is to always kind of match the conditions, right? If you got, say we got cloudy conditions, which are my favorite, you know, and it's not a big bright sky out. I like to go with a darker profile, like this is called the Perpsicle right here. It's purple with kind of a pearl or a glow colored belly right here. I feel like that blends in and looks more natural to the fish. And they're really, I mean, I don't feel like we give these trout enough, especially speckled trout, enough credit for how good they are at finding what they want to forage on. We catch fish in the pitch black dark sometimes, you know, around no lights, no moon, no nothing. You know, you can jump and catch fish in that condition. So the, you know, your low light conditions are going to be like, this is called the Goblin. It's kind of got a green or like a dark green back with a chartreuse belly. Man, this Kroger color, this is one of those ones I always say is like a unicorn. It works good in clear water and it works good in dirty water sometimes. The Slick Lure makes a lot of what I call unicorn colors. Another clear water color would also be, this is called the Cool Beans, which is just basically a lighter version of this Perpsicle here. This is a really, really, really good clear water bait. You know, even in the wintertime and in the summertime. Let's see, what else here? The one I got tied over right here. This is called the P-Mint right here. It's got some glow. It's got a glow belly with like a real light pink back. Man, this is another unicorn to me. Caught fish like in the rivers in the wintertime, some really muddy water, all the way over like to catch them like on the Gulf Beach in some gin clear water on this lure. It lends really well both ways. They've been making this color for a while, and I just started throwing it this year. Don't ask me why, but you know, you kind of get hard-headed about lures sometimes about what you throw, and it's all about, for me, it's all about confidence. I know what I've caught a zillion of once, so that's what I'm gonna throw them, you know. But you always find it always pays off, in my opinion, to try some new things, because you never know what you're gonna figure out, throughout your career there. You saw this one on here. This is probably like probably the most universal color combination in all of inshore fishing. They call this one the B-Cat, but it's pearl with a chartreuse tail. This is another unicorn to me. It can be really good in some really clear conditions or some dirty water conditions. This one is really good. Like I said, this is a very universal color in my opinion. You can throw this pretty much anytime, anywhere, any time of the year. You know, when in doubt, throw the B-Cat. You know. Let's see what else. This was a good one too. And don't ask me why. I was talking with a friend of mine the other day. This one's called the Bayou Blues, and it's got a really clear belly with some red fleck, and then almost this kind of purple, red looking back. I really only throw this color this time of year, you know, like in the warm months. I don't throw it at all in the wintertime. I've tried it plenty of times in the wintertime, and I just can't ever get it to work very well. But this is called the Bayou Blues, and I really, really, really like this color this time of year. And I don't know what it is, but especially over at sandy or oyster shell bottom, this color is absolutely money. That's about it for all my favorite colors. When I get done talking about fishing here, we're talking about a little bit about conservation. So if anybody's got any more questions about fishing before we move along. Yes, sir.
When you're, say you're throwing, I don't know, say the pearl chartreuse, for example, one of the go-tos, and you're lacking that confidence, you're not having any luck, are you more apt to switch profile or are you more apt to switch color?
Color. And that's what's great about the Slick Lure is being able to swap out colors of lures so quickly. I mean, instead of cutting your lure off and tying something else on, you just untwist it, put it back in your pocket, get another one, twist it back on and throw it back out there. Yeah, more color than profile most of the time. I said, I feel like, you know,
the majority of the fish that I'm throwing at this time of year in shallow water are feeding on mullet most of the time. It is bogey sometimes, and you'll see a lure like the Miradine maybe outfish the slick every once in a while, but for the most part, they're if you lay with it, you're gonna figure them out with that. So another thing I wanted to talk about too, that was as far as it comes to going back to working the lure, the biggest mistake I see everybody make, like my clients that come on the boat who make fishing the lure, is the profile of the lure and the way it's set up, and you drop it in the water right next to the boat and you watch it. You just pull out some line and drop it in the water and see what it does. And what it's going to do is it's going to glide the same direction as the line is going, right? So if the line's pointed to the left, you drop it in the water, it's just going to start moving that way. The lure is always moving, okay? So the thing to do is to always keep a little some positive tension on your rod tip. What I'll see a lot of people do, and I don't know, it's got to be just habit or second nature for people, but they'll whack it and then they drop the rod tip, you know? So they do like a twitch, and then drop their rod tip back down. And what that's doing is throwing slack in the line, and you never feel the fish hit it. So the thing to do is to start low and twitch and hold your rod tip up, and then just kind of just slowly be reeling. And whatever you're doing, you never want to stop reeling for the most part. You're always just slowly reeling, picking up a little bit of line, you know. And Cat Bobby and I always talk about like the bites sometimes, you know. Sometimes it's just a little tick, you know what I mean? It's just a little light tick, right? And that can be anywhere from a 12-incher to a 6-pounder that hits your lure, you know. You'll know most of the time when you get like a knock, you know what I mean? Like a real thump. It'll feel like lightning coming through the rod when it's a good one. But you just got to just think about that lure is always slowly coming at you, you know, so you always kind of be slowly reeling. Never drop that rod tip in between twitches. You want to twitch and just kind of hold that rod tip up and just slowly reel and wait on the bite. And then reel down, twitch, and just keep that rod. I don't know what it is about folks that want to twitch and they want to drop that rod tip back down. And that's the wrong thing to do. It's just got to be natural, because I watch people do it every day on the boat. Do you have a question?
I was going to ask you about scents, but I know to talk about that part about dropping it, I know a lot of the people I've watched, they emphasize, you know, letting the bait fall, and they say, and that's when all the strikes happen. So you're, I guess in my thought process, because I do exactly that, and that's me thinking, oh, okay, I need to give it slack so the bait will fall.
Right. It's naturally going to fall. Even holding that rod tip up, she's still falling and coming at you. This is a suspending bait, you know what I mean? I'm not, you're catching fish that are up, you know what I mean? You know, when you're wading, you know what I mean? You only got like 2 or 3 foot of water column, right? So they're going to feel it, they're going to find it when it's in the area and attack it, you know. But when you're fishing a deeper setup, let's say you're fishing more like 6 or 8 foot of water from the boat with it, you can, to combat that, I throw it out there and I'll let it sink for a little bit, you know, maybe count to 10 or something like that, and kind of keep my rod tip down from the first couple of twitches before I start going, you know, to kind of get it down. But this is, you know, you're trying to catch fish that are suspended in that situation, not down on the bottom. If you want to catch a fish on the bottom, tie a jig on it, you know what I mean, is where I would go with that.
But do you ever bother with scents?
I do. Not so much with speckled trout. If I'm fishing speckled trout, I could care less about putting any kind of scent on my lure. When I go flounder fishing and red fishing, definitely put some scent on there. I really like ProCure is my go-to scent with that. I really just their standard inshore formula scent that they have is really good. Of course, they make mullet. They make any flavor you want. You know, they probably got bubblegum flavor ProCure. You know, you get on there, the list damn long on their website of all the scents they have. But so me, it's just an inshore scent, mullet, menhaden. I will buy shrimp every once in a while and put on like my voodoo shrimp or something on our popping cork, and then flounder pounder. When you want to go flounder fishing, that flounder pounder flavor is really, really good. Yeah. Any other questions for him? Yes, sir.
Do you typically just fish the larger profile, or do you swap between?
I do, man. I always want to catch a big one, you know? I want to throw big stuff at them. That the junior works really good. And I use that lure a lot, not necessarily so much in my wade fishing application. I like to put that one on a jig head and bump it on the bottom. It's a really great flounder lure. And it's good for catching school trout. I'll rig it up on one of my Hayabusa hooks and put it under a popping cork sometimes. Same thing with the little slick, the little skinny long one that they make. That's also a real good one to do both of those setups with as well.
I put those on stand-up jig and the flounder just came.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, just wiggle it away. That's cool. But yeah, I know when I jump in the water bed, I'm always trying to catch a big fish, and I'm not trying to throw, they say elephants eat peanuts, but that's I want to catch a big one, so I'm always throwing those big profiles.
So it seems big stuff, trout's coming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll be scared if they get be much bigger, but I'll be scared to get in the water with them.
Yeah. So Mark wanted me to talk a little bit about conservation. I'm a big proponent of it in our area. And kind of one of the things I always say, man, about conservation is it's almost one of the hardest lessons there is to learn in fishing. I can't tell you how I'll scroll through my phone back 10, 12 years and look at pictures and whatnot. And, it's just, you see these big pictures, these big tables of fish and whatnot. And I rarely ever even do that anymore. I rarely, I don't even really keep that many fish for myself to eat. I don't have any problem with anybody can do whatever they want to do. I just do what I do and try to pass that along. Let's put that out there first, because I think subsistence fishing is a great thing. You know what I mean? We eat a lot of fish in my house. My little girls gobble it down so fast, even if if you blink, you'd miss it. But anywho, when it comes to speckled trout, I kind of have my own slot. The state slot is 15 to 22 inches. Mine is more like 18, 19 inches. I don't really like keeping them any bigger than that. And really the reasoning behind that is when we get around like this time of year, when the water temperatures are coming up, and we're getting these full moons, like we got that full moon next Thursday, the fish are going to start to spawn. And your bigger fish, what they call the brood stock, they put out, especially with speckled trout, they put out an exponential number of more eggs than like your smaller school size fish, right? So like your 16-inch fish, that's maybe 1.5 pounds, puts out like, 100 out what a 20-inch fish does. That's 3 pounds, So that's really what's kind of keeping, and that's why the law the law is there, is to protect that brood stock so that our fishery keeps on thriving. And I don't know if y'all heard me earlier talking about, when you do catch bigger size fish, you want to let them go, using things like, a good net, and try not to let them whack themselves around in there, or, you don't want to like boat flip one and let him flip around all on the deck, knocking all the scales and slime coat off, because that slime coat is real important to their health and how they keep disease away, and things of that nature. So I rarely ever try to let a fish ever hit the deck of my boat, or if it does, go ahead and get on him real quick and get him picked up if you're going to release him. And then, of course, I do a lot of tagging as well with the CCA and the University of South Alabama with the tagging program. If you ever hear me at a tagging seminar, one thing I'll always tell you about tagging is I always have everything ready to go before a fish even comes in the boat. I've got the tag number written down in my book. I've got the tag loaded in the needle. And I keep one for both species, for redfish and for trout. So I've got both, no matter what comes on, I'm ready to go. Fish comes on, throw them on the measuring board, you tag him, throw a quick measure on him, toss it back over. It should take less than 20 seconds, you know. Then you pull your book out, write down your location, your date, and your length, and then write down, pull the new tag out, write your next tag number down, and then you're ready for the next fish. And it's really cool what we get to learn about a lot of these fish with their, what we get to monitor as a state with the health of our fishery. The thing that I think is really cool about the tagging program is the fishing mortality, right? So once we get, like, as taggers or as a state, we get so many fish tagged out there, you can kind of put a population set together, right? And then you can see out of that population how many fish we're pulling out of the system as a whole state. So you'll know, okay, hey, we're catching too many speckled trout. You know what I mean? Just say there's 10,000 speckled trout out there, and we're catching 2,000 of them. We're taking 20% of the fish out of the fishery. That's way too many. It needs to be more like 5 or 10% in order for the fishery to stay in good health. So it's a great way to monitor how many fish we're taking out of the system. The other cool thing about it is you can see growth. Make sure that there's plenty for them to forage on, that they're growing at the rate that they're supposed to be growing because they get recaptured. I've had fish that have been out for like 5+ years get recaptured. They grew a lot, which tells you that they're in great shape. And then you also get to see movement too. I've had several redfish that I've caught. The trout usually stay in and around Mobile Bay. I've had like one, I caught it like the Weston Dolphin Island show up at Biloxi one time, but the reds, they either get recaptured right where I tagged them, or they haul ass. You know what I mean? I've had one that I caught like by Foul River, actually two that I caught at Foul River end up in Pensacola. One of them ended up in Mississippi. We tagged a bull red 2 years ago on Dixie Bar. They got caught in Chalmette, Louisiana. So it's just incredible what you kind of get to see with that. And then I guess Dylan came and spoke last month. So Dr. Dormat and I have seen a lot of cool things with flounder, where I'm sure I won't steal too much of Dylan's stuff, but we've tagged flounder like in Dog River in the fall, and then they migrate out in the Gulf to go spawn, and we've seen the same fish come back to Dog River again. Almost how like salmon swim up the same stream and spawn that they were born in. We're seeing that kind of stuff with flounder. I would have never given a flounder that much credit that he'd go back to the same river. He could smell it. They literally could smell the water and find their way back, which is just wild. I'll talk a little bit about redfish too. Mark and I were talking about it before I started. I have a no redfish kill policy on my trips with folks. I haven't killed a redfish, I think, since maybe 2012 or something like that. And the reason for it was a couple of reasons for it. Back then, I was going to Louisiana and competing in tournaments a lot for redfish, and I saw what fishery they had over there. It was like a gold mine, you know what I mean? I used to barely catch any reds over here. You go to Louisiana, catch like 60 in a day. Like, wow, man, I want this in Alabama. So that was one reasoning for wanting to turn all of them loose. And then the other thing too is scientific. Redfish are really slow to reach sexual maturity where they start reproducing. So they're like 26 to 30 inches before they start reproducing. And that's like a 4 to almost 6-year-old fish. So in my mind, it just does not make a lot of sense to harvest a fish that's never reproduced before. So that's a lot of why I like releasing them. They're very tasty. My wife didn't break my wife's heart when I came home and told her I wasn't keeping any more redfish. What do you mean? That's not favorite fish to eat. Oh, like that. We'll figure that out. Don't worry about it. But so anyway, like I said, conservation is a really, really hard lesson to learn, because I've seen these really, really good years of red fishing and speckled trout fishing. And then I see some really bad years. We're kind of coming out, talking about redfish. We're coming out of some really bad years of red fishing, in my opinion. And mostly like your slot size fish. Those, to me, have been missing for a couple of years. Yes, sir.
Do you think that's a part of that big kill we had, like, what, 2 years ago?
It could be. I was kind of seeing it before then, to be honest with you. Man, like in the years before that, like 4 and 5 years ago, like when I would have said the slot fishing was good, I would literally have days where we would get on a redfish bite and catch 40 to 60 like good slot size fish in a couple of hour period. And I hadn't done that in a while, you know. Now, like a year ago, we started to see all these little 10-inchers around, and now they're all like, you know, 16 to 18 inch, like right on the lower end of the slot, you know. So that's really good to see. I'm just tickled to death about seeing that. I've been kind of hoping that I'd see some more 10-inchers show up. I hadn't really seen a bunch just yet. Okay. Yeah.
A couple months ago, we were down at Little Lagoon and I caught probably like 8 to 10 back-to-back of little 8 to 10 inches.
Oh, cool. That's good to see. I haven't. Last year when I was seeing that, I was seeing it like stem to stern in the bay, all the way at the Causeway to Dolphin Island to Bayou La Batre. I don't really come over here a whole lot on this side, but I heard from folks that was good over here as well.
Same thing in industrial canal.
Right.
We caught 30 redfish that were like 12 to 14 inches.
Yeah.
And then 2 that were over slot.
Right.
Not one in the big, one in slot.
Yeah, the slot fish has been missing for a while, so it's good to, you know, so anyway. And then with trout, you know, I'd say we're kind of like right in the middle with the speckled trout right now. We're not having this giant high right now or bottomed out low with as far as their numbers and everything go. But, you know, you got to kind of always say, man, you take care of them, they'll take care of you, you know.
Another cool thing you can do with that is, the Release Over 20 program or website.
Yep.
You can go ahead and log all of your, Release Over 20-inch fish, take a picture, put your name, et cetera. They have like a little leaderboard for states, also goes by person, and they'll raffle off stuff with that. So that's like a fun little way of.
I haven't met any of those guys, but I work closely with the owner of the Slick Lure, Greg Sample, and he sings their praises all the time about their program and what they're doing and everything. So.
Yeah, they have listing and stickers and all kinds of stuff for every fish that you log, so it's pretty neat. You know, you got all kinds of good information on there too about why you want to do it. You know, it's a cool site for sure.
Well, sweet. Well, I think that about wraps it up. If y'all don't have any more questions, like I said, I'll kind of hang out here for a little bit if anybody wants to see how you put your hands on my stuff or whatever and see
Easy, man.
Or how to tie some of these knots and whatnot. I'd be glad to show everybody. Thank y'all for having me.
I think, has everybody got their raffle number? Yeah, we get that out, we'll start giving away some of this,
Thank you.
some of these things up here.
Buy my gift.
You can get a ticket, right there on that back of that chair.
And we have a local vendor here that's selling coffee cups. Basically, it's cost. We can't make a profit off the Salt Strong name. So they're $10 a piece, and that's what it costs to make them. We got several of them here from my one, and we've got a prototype of one of these small ones. They come in this flavor, American flag flavor, and a black American flag flavor. But if anybody's interested, just holler.
Number 19. Yep, I'm just gonna call the number, you just raise your hand whenever I call that, and I'm gonna pass it up. Second number 5. Number 33. Number 7. 34. Number 4. 36. 12. Number 3. Number 1. 37. $16. 32. 11. 14.
Start setting fire.
Number 9. Which one is that? That one or that? If it matches mine, it matches. You got the line on yours? I actually do not. I tell you what, 9 and 6. Go ahead and give 9 and 6. 9 and 6. How about that? 9 and 6.
And for the grand prize, you got frog dog, food.
Number 20. 20.
Oh, look at there.
How many more you got back there? Just 2. Number 8.
Where's your prize?
18. Also, too, so I know Mr. Rodney was talking about us doing monthly contests and competitions. This past month, we didn't announce a PD. I kind of wanted to just get some chapter involvement, right? Raise your hand if you are a member of the Alabama Gulf Coast chapter. If you're not, please come see one of us. If you're a member of Salt Strong and you're not an actual member of the Gulf Coast, come see us. It's just one little click. It's free. Like Mr. Rodney says, every member that we get helps us, benefits us, prizes and stuff. But what we do, we have our own board, right? Our own, where you post anything. I mean, I guess pictures, how your day was, how your fishing trip was, hints, anything. So what I did was I went through and got a name of every single person other than the directors who made a post on our chapter page from our last meeting until now. We got it put up on a name wheel. We're gonna go ahead and spin that. Like I said, everybody on this name wheel made 8 posts, if not 3 or 4 or 5 different posts. And they are going to win a $25 Bass Pro gift card. So if they're not on here, hopefully they're watching live, and we'll have to ship it out to them. I guess Jonathan, we'll make sure we get that to them. But yeah, guys, hey, chapter involvement, all you gotta do is make a post. You can just post on our chapter and say, hey, here's my post. You get your name on here.
Is anyone here tonight that is not a member of Salt Strong? Would you like a 30-day free trial? Anybody else want a 30-day free trial? Do you know anybody that's on the fence, whether they want to give it a trial run? Let me know. You can take the back of this to your friends, your neighbors, your enemies. And guys, what this chapter does is, if you're going fishing, just put on the post, hey, we're going on a week's bay today. If anybody wants to join, not necessarily have to be in your boat or in your kayak or whatever, but just let us know where we're going to be. I seen somebody this afternoon that said he couldn't make it to the meeting because something else, but him and one of the other members from Gulf Shore, launched and fish Odo Island Thursday night. So, just say that, hey, I'm gonna be out of Odo Thursday night, see all who's done. That's what this club is, or chapter is about, is, inviting the other people. You may not know them, just say, hey, I'm launching out of Weeks Bay, or I'm launching out of Dolphin Island. And if anybody's interested, join them. I mean, that's what it's for. That's what we try to push really hard. I really want to have we do these little meet fish, what we call them. They're little mini tournaments, but we had a group of 4 boats the other night, had 6 or 8 people on there. We went to Ono. None of us, I've never fished Ono from Mike's, but fished the lights. We just, on the way down there, I said, hey, anybody that catches a slam, I'll give them $20. And, of course, he got the slam.
You still haven't seen the $20 yet.
That one fish, but.
You saw it in
But, it's all fun. It's not about the money. It's about the fun. You're gonna burn the gas anyway. You're gonna haul out shrimp anyway. So, hey, might as well be with a bunch of guys and gals out one night, have fun. And it's a great time. Of course, it's nice and cool at night. I prefer the lights. I work inside, have a desk job, so some guys like out to eat. I can't take the heat, so. But I'm gonna turn it over to Dustin. My goal, my wish is to fish next Saturday, 3 o'clock in the morning. If you want to come there at 3, if you want to come there at daylight, we'll be down there fishing. It's just a fun fisherman. Pier fishing's available at Dolphin Island, bank fishing's available at Dolphin Island, kayak fishing, boats, it don't matter.
I say we start at midnight because the lights are fire down
It starts at midnight.
there. I'll fish till 10.
Saturday morning at 12:01.
Yes, sir.
And really, to Dolphin Island, if we can meet there at the parking lot at Fort Gaines, say 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Y'all want to stay there later, noon, what do y'all want to do? Anybody want to fish there?
Green Park's a good place to be.
But
It's right by Shipping Shore, on the right there. They just did the parking lot too, right now. There's a little park right there.
I'll put it on Facebook, on our community page. If anybody wants to be there at midnight, you want to have sideways, that's fine. If you want to talk crap, that's fine. It's all in fun. We get enough people and get enough boats with one person in it. You want to, invite your buddy or somebody you don't know. If somebody's got room for somebody else, just put out there, hey, I'm by myself. Anybody want to go? That's what it's about. It's about getting to know each other. I know we have several people from Dolphin Island there. One of our goals is, for you guys in Gulf Shore, Orange Beach, Rockdale, Foley, get together with each other and say, hey, let's go down to the beach and fish, or let's fish Weeks Bay or somewhere. Let people know where you're at, where you're gonna fish at. This is not bass fishing, everything's secret, I'm not telling you nothing. If I'm catching fish, I want everybody in this room to know where I'm at catching fish. I don't catch fish, but. Mainly, I want to know where you guys are catching fish.
Are you talking about the 18th or the 25th? That's this Saturday.
It's gonna be, weather's not gonna look too good.
We do it every weekend, I fish every weekend.
Yeah, I think weather is supposed to be correct.
I was supposed to be going to Panama City for a charter, but it looks like it's gonna be, nasty all down the coast.
25th is all.
Yeah, that's the whole way we don't want to be nowhere.
You don't want to be on the water more that weekend.
Maybe.
I'm busy.
I'm gonna be there midnight Friday night for Saturday morning. Anybody wants to meet me there? I'm fishing somewhere.
But that's the goal, everybody, if you got any insights from other people, get them on catching fish. As far as the tournament goes, it's gonna get better as we go, but you guys is what matters. So your voice is where it's at, that's what we're about here. If we're doing something different, and you'd like to change, voice it out. We're all family, the way I see it. Get involved, you know. I always fish a lot by myself, so if I'm on board, y'all can come, okay? I'm not a catching, but.
If y'all to follow him, he loads the boat. You don't let him lie.
We fall guys, I don't know nothing about this time of year. Come follow those,
So anybody that has not a member, not a follower of the chapter page, if you want to join now, now's the time, pull up the page, go to chapters, and you'll see a blue follow button. Press the follow button and you're there. That's all it is. And the good thing about this, guys, is, and I try to emphasize this a lot, especially with new people. We have no fees, we have no dues. This is all done for you guys, or us, on your regular subscription. You pay a yearly, monthly, hourly, lifetime, VIPs, whatever you are. This is something we do for each other, and it doesn't cost anything. So a lot of people call, hey, I'd like to follow you, but you know, if my wife knows I'm one part of one more thing, she's gonna skin me alive. Like, there's no dues, man, there's no fees, it's free, everything's free. So help us out, follow yourselves, be part of the chapter. We have Panama City just come online with a chapter. Destin, Florida just come online with a chapter. Venice, Louisiana just come on with a chapter. We're trying, some guys reached out to me this week on Biloxi again. We're trying to get a chapter in Biloxi. Our goal here is there's 14 chapters in Florida, and personally, I get tired of watching Kate Snook and fish in clear water. But the only way we're gonna change that, guys, is to fish, is to post, to be seen here on the Alabama Gulf Coast, that we gotta make a difference. Let's make them sick of seeing us catch reds and specks and flounders. You know, they don't have much flounder, but, you know, the only way to change what we're seeing every day on the post is to change it. That's all I can say. And thanks again, Richard. Anybody need to go to the house or anything?
What's over here for? Hey, if y'all got a door prize, let's come down here in the front, let's take a picture. I got a free thing, so we gotta do a picture.
Oh, right. Picture taker. Where you want to sit?
Strut the front.
Facing which direction?
That way. I gotta.
That way.
Okay.
All right, so y'all. All right, y'all ready? 1, 2, 3.
Beautiful.
Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I guess I'm thinking,
You're great too. It's kind of like a shallow. It's not like the only Rutland's I know. Oh, really? Okay, I was thinking it looked different. Yeah.
No seals, we got bad, never heard of swim, never get fire in. It's not only, what it is,
Oh, yeah.
Like on the specs, it's supposed to float in that 8 spot. That's what Yeah, I mean, it's, mine, even my motor is like right at, so when it's past the fast trim, it hits the first stop. That still is 18 inches from my transducer down to the key or the skid. So, yeah, it's a people want I get real nervous and all these places.
He likes fish and then.
For 7. Most of the big pile of stuff for all the kids.
Thank you, sir. That's something you can use. If I start doing
Fishing clear water.
I do it would just break on me, you know, come to the sky, it breaks right up there. No, I just like.
They are fish really.
Yeah, these are 6. These are 6.
Well, wintertime you go fishing, you don't have find these floats, fish. Like now, the best way I like to do is get down my little pond, voodoo shrimp.
Everybody else.
If it's the big guy, that's it. So I catch red fish. These always have some.
Once I
Figure out every time I try to do it. Oh, it's easy to do
The tag it all started working like that, but I've got one hour.
You got all good. Like I said, my thing is, I got the side gas fish.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
Actually, me myself. 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
I've always started at 20 inch.
we hit these, last different readers. And almost gave up. I'll send a new strip, just kind of bounce around. I didn't even go. I still need that ball.
So I anchored up.